Digital 410 Productions proudly presents the What's in Your Head podcast.
Digitized live from the ACT Computer Studios in Cape Coral, Florida, it's the What's in Your Head podcast with your hosts Gordon and Don Abernathy.
What's up, what's up, what's up, OG5? Happy New Year's to everybody. Hope you had a great holiday. Gordon, how you doing, friend?
I'm doing all right. It was a good weekend. I did run into the old friend off the truck, Tony.
Oh, yeah? Before we get off the truck, Tony, let's say hello to Martin Mazik joining us from New York once again. Martin, how are you doing this new year?
Not too bad. Enjoying myself here in quarantine.
So we'll get to that momentarily. But real quick, Gordon, what's going on with Off the Truck, Tony?
It's going to be more of personality types. And it's a personality type that probably drove us nuts as teenagers. We've known a few.
Okay.
So I was talking to Off the Truck Tony, and he's working on his Kia Sorento.
Ooh.
He's cleaning it out.
Luxury.
Telling me that he's got these new off-road tires coming. I was like, that's cool. He goes, yeah, I was up Lee Canyon, and they asked me if I got my four-wheel drive that I put it in. I'm like, okay. Now, I remember him saying it was front-wheel drive. I didn't want to argue with him. Didn't want to cause a problem because I've been known to do that. And he went in the house, and I promptly climbed under his car to take a peek, and guess what was missing?
Four-wheel drive?
Drive shaft.
So it's front-wheel drive then?
It's front-wheel drive. Now, my question to you and Martin is, why would a guy in his middle... And do I trust anything that comes out of his mouth after that? You know?
No. Because he's trying to be cool? No, he wants to have the off-road tires on his car, even though clearly he's not going to do much off-roading other than driving through some sand, because you're not going to do a whole lot of off-roading with a front-wheel drive. But probably he's living that lie, if you will, so he can maintain that lie and make it into his... a slogan that we like to use a lot nowadays is make it his truth. And so if he makes it his truth...
and I almost said, hey... come with me. Let's come under your vehicle and take a peek. Because he said, yeah, well, all I got to do is hit a button, right? Now, if you want to hold on to this inaccuracy and this lie,
sure,
please tell me, because there's no drive shaft going from your transaxle or your transmission back. So what is your rear wheels powered by air and good dreams and wishes? I don't understand people like that. And Off the Truck Tony has been known. I've heard that he's not a very truthful person. And that one actually bothered me. I don't know why, but
like I said,
I looked over and I said, what? I'm not going to let this. Don't start shit. I'm like, no, I'm just going to call him on his bullshit.
Well, like I said, the reason he's trying to live.
I got more knowledge. Well, the guy doesn't think you and I are very tactile people, right? We know how things work.
Sure.
And I don't think he realized he's talking to a guy how a lot of shit works, because I probably got more knowledge right here than he's got in his fucking retarded body. But that's why he's Off the Truck Tony, you know.
Well, as I was going to say, the reason he's trying to live his lie and make it his truth is he probably convinced his better half that those tires are needed in case shit hit the fan, or because he's going to go off-road on the weekends, whereas if she knew he had a two-wheel front-wheel drive, he would have to admit that he just wants them so that he can look cool. Like, you know, kind of like the guys you see driving the nice Ford Raptors with the Nitto Terra grapplers and all that, who never take them off-road. They're parking lot queens. They do mall off-roading. Oh, yeah. The most off-roading they do is when they drive over cinder blocks. You know, those cats.
So, yeah, I think what I'm going to do is, once he gets these tires, which are not made for a unibody vehicle, so he's going to struggle, is say, hey, let's go out to the desert. See if we get further. Now, granted, I'm in a Subaru. It is limited on how far it go, but it'll definitely get further in there. That Crosstrek will definitely get further in there than a Sorento front wheel.
Well, when you said Kia Sorento, I had to Google it because I'm trying to think of, does Kia even have a four-wheel drive SUV? And then I saw it's one of these, what are the crossovers they call them? It's a car that kind of has it's basically the front chassis of a smaller SUV, but it's on a car frame and it has the car suspension, and so it's really not remotely an off-road vehicle. It's kind of the vehicles that we came out with when we were shamed in the early 2000s by the green movement for having Escalades and Hummer 2s and SUVs and the V8 trucks, and that's when the SUV market fell through the floor.
You know who created the first crossover, right?
Subaru.
Yeah, with that Outback. It's still a wagon. It's essentially a wagon. It's a lifted wagon.
So, Martin, you kind of alluded to it, and this we wanted to bring on a few weeks back because we were talking about, me living in Florida, Gordon living in Las Vegas, Nevada, being so close to California that some of the California regulations bleed over in Nevada. Not to the extent as California, not to the extent that they're trying to recall their governor like California is. I think the last time I checked, they're 600,000 signatures away from getting it on the ballot. And I was explaining to him, I kind of feel like I'm one of the few people who live in an open, free state nowadays. But kind of for contrast and comparison, you live up northeast. How are things going in New York?
Oh, it's crazy. They changed the I guess the line in the sand, if you will, like every other week. In terms of like school closings down in the city, they're completely closed. But now they started opening up the elementary schools and then the schools where they service kids of high needs, where really the parents need the kids out of the house for just their own support, or the kids get so many services at the schools. So they're sending those kids in, but then all the other kids, they're completely remote. But now the number was like at 6% closure. Now it's up to 9%. And now just today, the governor said that if it even goes over 9%, the schools still can stay open. So that's a whole different thing. And then in terms of like the vaccination, who they're giving it to, who's got to get it, the story of like who's got to get mandated. There was a bill that's on the table right now up here in New York. I forget the
A416 or something like that. I sent it to Gordon the other day.
Where essentially, if you read it, it sounds like they can practically hog tie me and put the damn needle in my arm if I refuse. Is what it sounds like. It's on the bill.
Yeah, it's the New York State Assembly Bill A416, and I was reading it the other day. Now, obviously, we're not lawyers, and so the legalese of it along the way gets a little hectic, but basically what it boils down to is in the middle of a pandemic or a health crisis, if the government deems Martin as being a health risk, let's say. Now, first and foremost, are you still on your exodus from the city? Are you still in the suburbs?
Yeah, up in the mountains.
Okay, so you're up in the mountains. Well, let's say you're still back in the city, and you decided for Christmas, fuck it, we're gonna break the mandate. We're gonna have over 10, 15 people. And let's say one of your brown shirt neighbors drops a dime on you, and the government comes, if this bill were to pass, and they force you guys to get tested because that's in the bill. Testing, vaccination, mandate vaccination, and treatment. So let's say they came to your house and discovered you and your wife, or just you, had COVID, or the pandemic of the future, because if this thing passes. At that point, the government would have the power to decide that you need to be detained at either a health facility or an off-site facility, depending on how busy they were at the health facility, i.e. hospital, and you would remain under their detainment until they found you healthy enough to return home. That sounds a little, well, it sounds like,
isn't it?
That sounds familiar to, some policies they had back in 1939 over.
Now, is this the guy that was a Time Magazine Man of the Year who had this kind of policy?
No, this is something that's on the books. They're trying. It's going to get voted on. They're trying. It's let me see who's introduced. Introduced by M of A Perry. That's weird. M of A Perry. I don't know if it's two people. Read once, refers to community health. Yep. And so once you've been detained, they can force you to take any medication and or vaccination that they require before they return you back into the wild.
Right.
Now, isn't this something they kind of have going on over across the waterfall from you over in Canada? I think they have similar policies going on over there. I think that may be where they got the idea for some of this stuff.
Well, it's just scary along the lines there. A year ago, when our daughter started pre-K 3, the city of New York has a law now that if the kids are pre-K 3, pre-K 4, or kindergarten, they're mandated to have the flu shot. And that was the first time that I realized, this is before about maybe 6 months before the pandemic. That's September of 19.
Yeah.
We had to make the decision of, do we enroll our child in school for, social and emotional and, academic purposes at the age of 3, and force the flu shot into her, which we were still debating. As a whole family, we decided to get it because we just figured, well, if she's got to get it, we'll get it too. But, just as a parent, that was the first time that something like that was like really forced upon you.
How old is your child? How old is your oldest child?
She's going to be 5, so she's going to be starting kindergarten. Now up here where we're at now, all the schools are open, but all you hear about in the local media, it's just craziness because they're open, but just here over the holiday break, a bunch of high school kids had a rager, what they call a super spreader, and they already knew a week going into between Christmas and New Year's, they had already canceled the next 2 weeks. So, I mean, hell, these high school kids up here now are just like, well, the best way to close down school is we all just throw a party. So now there's also talk about, if you have such a super spreader event and you're a parent or, you host these events, you're looking at legal troubles yourself. And actually the one that was just broken up was hosted by 2 local teachers. I guess they must have high school kids, and then they threw a rager.
Or these are the same teachers we used to hear a lot about 5-6 years ago who were constantly getting arrested. Females, by the way, for inappropriate relationships with minors. Maybe they're trying to. Maybe they're having a speed dating party.
Hey, while we're talking about things, I know you brought up flu, and I wanted to ask you, Martin, have you had any kind of indication of what the flu season has been like so far this year? Because we got an interesting story out of the Southern Nevada Health District that makes you scratch your head a little bit.
Yeah, up here in Albany and upstate New York, there's a local guy who's been busting the local chops. Literally, it's like 2 reported cases versus like I want to say in the multiple thousand cases at this time last year. It's almost like it just disappeared.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. Same here. So this comes out from our health district, and this was back on December the 20th. Flu season arrived, and the COVID-19 pandemic, obviously, we're still seeing a rise in cases. However, there appears to be a positive sign for all the social distancing. So they're saying the social distancing and the washing of your hands and wearing the face coverings are helping them lower the flu. And so as of December the 12th, they've had 5 hospitalized cases and 0 deaths. And last year, and this is in Clark County, Nevada, last year by this time, it was 463 hospitalizations and 10 deaths. Now, if I was a conspiracy theorist, I would think that they were shifting some of the diagnoses over to the COVID.
Shuffling some titles around.
I hear that they're getting money out of it, so I don't know the truth.
One of the scary things about the COVID.
Please fact check me.
Obviously now, thank God they got the treatment of it right. Mm-hmm. And we also heard that, early stages, a lot of the elderly who were passing away fell in the timeline of people who would have passed away of those other causes 3 months later if they wouldn't have gotten COVID. But there are some crazy, scary side effects. I know a handful of people here locally who've gotten it, still dealing with, and it's been, I think they're on day 18 or 19 for the last 10 days. First, we all heard about the no taste thing. You see people on TikTok biting into onions and all that, and that was all kind of fun and all that. Then this person got to the point where everything they smells like the ashtrays from the parties that we used to have in the 90s. And they are 5 days past their 14 days, and they still haven't gotten, their taste is at 20%, and all they smell all day long is cigarette smoke. And if you Google it, you'll see COVID-19. There is a side effect where everything smells like cigarette smoke. And I was communicating with somebody on TikTok, and they said that they lost their smell and taste over 6 months ago and haven't gotten it back. That is wow. I mean, out of all
that long hauler, right?
Well, I mean, out of all the horrible things that can happen to you with a disease, that sort of long-term effect. Obviously, yes, there are other horrible long-term effects out there, but compared to anything you get from the flu, could you imagine permanently losing your taste or your smell factory that from now on, everything smells like secondhand smoke. That's just fucking insane.
Hey, have you tried every diet out there imaginable? We've got a new one for you.
Yeah,
It's the
COVID-19.
COVID-19 diet where you don't have taste or smell and don't want to eat.
And when you do get your smell back, everything smells like secondhand smoke.
Too soon?
Oh, that's just...
Too soon?
that's fucking horrible.
That's so weird. Smells like the old girlfriend you had as a non-smoker that used to smoke.
Well,
exactly.
The big thing up here in New York right now, too, is I don't know if you guys seen this. So Cuomo was all against gatherings. You know, you can't be together for Christmas, Thanksgiving. But now that the Bills are in the playoffs and he wants to go because he gets wined and dined in the press boxes, he's now opened and given the okay that they can have the Bills playoff game this week.
How the hypocrisy just shows.
And he's attending. He's attending.
Of course.
I'm sure his bank account just got a
he-
couple more zeros into it. That's all.
Well, it's funny. So I was watching the local news this morning, and they were talking about how, despite Governor Steve's pleading, don't go out on the strip for New Year's, stay home, there was tens of thousands of people, including one Adam Carolla, on the strip. What they're not saying is these are all motherfuckers from California who are basically refugees for the weekend, coming here to get away. So it's such, and that's the problem with the news, is such disingenuous headlines, and they'll discuss one little narrow view, right?
Yeah.
They won't get the whole big picture in there because then it doesn't really work out too well. Kind of like the $2,000, the Republicans voted down the $2,000 that President Trump wanted. Yeah, but he also wanted to get rid of the pork. So,
No, you got to make your lobbyists
both
happy.
ways.
I had a thought today. I was talking to somebody. It'll be interesting to see, not that we would ever have access to this, but can you imagine the amount of money that was lost on New Year's Eve strictly on DUI, arrest, court fees, and impound fees? There's the court system and the tax revenue that was lost this year just on, drunken, disorderly arrest, DUI arrest, assault arrest, all that bail money, all that court fees, all that shit, the DUI schools, the impounding of the car, all that just went away.
Absolutely. You've got that. And then like in Las Vegas, I mean, we've already took it on we've taken it in the fucking gut. You went from 350,000 people on a New Year's Eve weekend to tens of thousands.
Well, Martin can tell you because he's been down there before all this happened. He's been the guy wearing adult diapers down there in New York, Times Square on New Year's Eve.
Is that with the Planet Fitness hat?
Well, no, I'm talking about previous to this year.
Oh, man.
That was a weird video.
I'll never do that again.
But what we saw this year, that was super just weird. I mean, that's two things New York's known for.
That's definitely a tourist.
Well, it's a tourist thing, but that's two huge revenue streams too that New York lost this year. One, the marathon, and two, New Year's Eve. I mean, they had a small handful of people down there, but that TV footage was just weird.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
And then then on top of that, the Thanksgiving Day parade was virtual.
Yeah,
I mean everything. And then on top,
there was no Rose Bowl parade or any of that stuff either.
The crime rate. I just saw the other day. It's like murders are 100 and something percent. They haven't seen crime like this since like 20 some years. And that was the thing. There was nights I was in Harlem. I never honestly felt unsafe in New York City. Not once, not really once. And I've been up to the Bronx, all over. And I could never say that I ever felt like threatened or really, truly unsafe. But then within the last 3 to 4 years, there's just been moments where you feel, okay, I don't feel the police are going to come. I don't feel like, I feel like it's a wild, wild west. And you've got these roaming gangs of kids on bikes. I don't know if you saw that, busting bikes over top of cars for no reason.
Yeah, I saw a guy ran over and pushed into a bakery window. That bakery just opened that day, and road rage event. Guy ended up driving him through the window.
Yeah, there's like a month ago there was a guy with a flamethrower on top of a bus.
Well, that was a hip hop
Fucking Mad
video.
Max shit going on now.
That was a hip hop video. He didn't pull a permit for. So,
So check this out to bolster Martin's deal. And then this comes in from the Washington Post. Anyway, it says homicides skyrocket across the U.S. during pandemic while robberies and rapes plummet. So police say protest COVID-related budget cuts forced them to move officers away from proactive crime. I absolutely believe that. I know this is a right-leaning, I believe the Washington Post is, because their tagline is "Democracy dies in darkness." Anyway, yeah, so it's gotten so bad out there. Everything is going through the roof, and that's where I don't know how Biden's plan is going to work out for him.
Well, I want to change the subject a little bit. Before we have to do the 40-minute split here because of the Zoom.
Okay.
I got my $600, and things are kind of all over the place. People's personal security, some people are feeling at risk. Ammunition's hard to come by. I already have enough.
Expensive.
Expensive.
I just bought 9mm remanufactured for 57 cents a effing round.
Poor Martin can't even buy a firearm where he lives, but
I'm sorry, Martin.
So I was thinking of an alternative way to protect myself and my family. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, like over the last 2 weeks, there's something that's been floating around the internet that clearly is the most badass personal protection weapon that one can buy, and it's very affordable. And so I decided that I got knives, I got firearms, and I just want to change things up. And so I figure I would reveal it here for our audience. And so here it is.
Oh my God, you've got the bigoted white boy drink right there, huh?
I've never had a twisted.
What is it with this twisted teeth thing right now? I didn't get it.
Because you don't watch TikTok enough. There is a video. Some asshole was at a convenience store screaming at somebody to hit him. And there's a guy in line with a twisted IT. Now, he wanted to be a cool guy. And he went to do the cocktail flip, and he dropped it on the floor. And the guy kicked it.
Chomp.
And so he bent down, picked it up, and smashed it upside the guy's head. It busted, and then he punched him in the mouth. And so that's why you're seeing all these memes about, instead of guns, people are getting twisted iced teas, because in that video, the guy got his fucking head knocked off with a can of twisted iced tea. And so you're seeing all these videos on TikTok now, people opening up their gun cases and pulling out twisted iced tea and this, that, and the other thing. But that's why you're seeing
Mr.
it
T?
because dude got
they're calling him Mr. T now.
Dude got his wig split with a twisted iced tea. I've never had one before. It's not too bad. I don't know what the alcohol percent is on this thing. I didn't even realize this was a hard tea. I was like looking in the soda aisle for it, and I finally realized it's got alcohol in it.
Thus the twisted. Hey, I got one for you guys. Let's shift gears a little.
Mm-hmm.
So, have you ever been?
No.
And this is good for you, Martin. This would be good for you to chime in. Has your old lady ever looked at you and say, "What the fuck are you doing?" with an idea to get a job accomplished? Like they don't believe it's going to work. They don't have any faith in you.
Well,
I think it's every male out there.
Well, funny story. I've been doing a little remodeling and whatnot, and trying to do a few things. We bought a house up here, but it needs a lot of work. So I've been getting up at 4 a.m. during my break and getting over there. It's about an hour drive. I get some things done. I come back. My wife's like, I'm not seeing any progress. So finally, I brought her over there the other day, and I made her do an install with me on her own, sort of. And she saw how much she got done in one day, and she finally apologized. But for like 2 nights, I was taking a browbeating on the phone, and it was ridiculous. She had like an unimaginable. I don't know if she's been watching too many HGTV.
TV. No, it's that damn Pinterest page and all that crap.
So check this out. Check this out. This weekend, I've got one oleander I got left to pull out, which is done now. So I'm out there in the back and I'm digging and I'm trying to, and our ground is extremely hard out here.
What is it?
The oleander bush. I got a puppy now and I don't want to kill it with a poisonous tree, a bush. Gotcha. So I'm swinging away, and that thing's only 5-6 years old, the bush, and I'm having a hard time getting down into the roots. And I'm looking, I'm like, there's the gate. That's a straight shot to the street. Don may know where I'm going with this. Hell, Martin may know where I'm going with this. I think I'm going to go buy some rope. Now, Don, what would you do?
You know, tie it to the back of your car.
You got it. So I went and got some rope and tied it to the back of my car. So I'm, going crosswise across the street, but I back up onto the sidewalk. And it's not going to work. I said, all I'm trying to do is loosen it enough. It's not going to come popping out, and then it's all over the place. It's, going to loosen it enough so I can get in there with the Sawzall and go after those big-ass roots. And I go, and I get the rope. And
what kind of rope did you use?
I went and got some paracord. It's only 244 pounds working load. I doubled up on them. I got 2 of them because they're cheap at Home Depot. It's about 100 foot between my car and there, so there's some distance. I attached it. I pulled it. Then I undid it and backed up the car, pulled it again, and she's like, "You're embarrassing me."
Putting black marks in your driveway.
No, it's all-wheel drive. It didn't even squeal the tires. I didn't pull that hard. And then I pulled again. I said, "Here's the deal. I'm just trying to loosen the son of a bitch up." So it worked. I mean, I ended up popping the rope, but it worked. Got in there and got the son of a bitch out. But it's like, why are you doubting me? This is common knowledge. When you want to get rid of a plant or a tree, especially if you got
rip that son of a bitch out.
Hook that son of a bitch up and pull.
Well, it's not her fault. I don't know what grade. I think I just had a thought. Maybe it'll change in the future because they no longer do this. Remember when we all had to take sex ed in school, and they would separate the boys from the girls and take the boys to learn about their organs and the girls to learn about their organs?
I had Mr. Johnson at Brook Park.
I went to Park Street,
I remember that.
I had Mr. Trudeau at Park Street. But anyhow,
I had some short old lady at Hamilton Middle School.
Well, actually, the middle school at Grove City was the second time. The first time I took any sort of sex ed was the one I've talked about before at Hamilton South Elementary, which completely corrupted my mind because in the video, the woman said, and I quote, and I can remember this from 5th grade, "You're not a pervert if you think about having sex all day. You're a pervert if you think about having sex with an elephant all day." Now, this was a sex ed video from the mid-'70s, so clearly they're a little more open about it back then. But I think that's when they
Is it just an elephant?
I don't know. I think that's when they fed into the girls, when they separated us, that you can't ever trust your man to know what he's doing. You could be a brain surgeon, right? You could be a brain doctor, a neurosurgeon, and your wife will have a migraine, and you can take some Excedrin and do this, drink this, and it won't go away to her satisfaction. She's like, "Some brain doctor you are, some bitch." Blah, blah, blah. She just has no faith in you. But then she goes to work next day, Nurse Sally at the keyboard. "What's the matter, Sally?" "I got a migraine." "Really? My husband's a neurosurgeon, and he says the thing to do is this, this, and this, and it works perfectly." Even though the same thing she just told her the night before, she's bitching in front of your company that it doesn't work. But when she's not in your sphere, she can tell people the things that a lot about the stuff that you know about. But when it comes between the two of you, you don't know what you're talking about. What are you doing? What are you doing?
You're saying that she doesn't want you to know that she has faith in you?
I'm just saying I've heard a few times, "Some computer guy you are, can't get more stuff working." Give us a call. For some reason, Text Now refreshed our phone number that I pay for, so we've got a new number. Give us a call, 239-990-3919. That's fun. Let me see how much time we got left. We're still going good. Hey, we talk about the easiest job in the world has to be fashion, because fashion's one of those few jobs where you just refresh styles from 15 years ago and push it out as new, and everybody buys into it, right?
Yeah, well, I swear, like in the 90s, remember when we worked at Galleons?
Mm-hmm. Everybody's wearing stuff
looking
from
at
the
all
70s.
the fucking basketball shit. I'm like, what is it? These guys say, what is the ugliest fucking shoe we can invent and sell for a ton of money? Because Jesus Christ, I'm sorry, basketball fans. These shoes are fucking ugly, especially in the 90s. They look like moon boots.
Okay, well, we hit our 9-minute countdown, but I want to get to this subject real quick before we come back. It's happening now. We kind of revisited the 90s and the mid-2000s, but it's come back hard now. I was at Moe's. Now, I don't know if these girls were down here on vacation, but let me just...
Was Homer there?
Let me just explain the Moe's Southwest Grill for those of you who don't know. It's kind of like a better Chipotle, which anything's a better Chipotle. So I walk in, and first and foremost, I have to say they had Urge Overkill on the radio. So, okay, we're already in the 90s. But stand in front of me are 3 girls, probably between 19 and 21. Uh-huh. First girl had on a maroon Minnesota College t-shirt.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, sweatshirt, real short, white turtleneck popping out,
Okay.
Jeans rolled up with white Nikes on. Straight up looked like she was walking out of the 90s. Her friend had on a T-shirt tucked into her pants pulled up, pants not tight rolled but rolled up, had on the black Doc Martens. And their other friend had hair pulled up, had on the layered shirt tucked into the pants, had on the Chuck Taylors. I swear to God, Martin, all three of them looked like they just walked out of sophomore class at Grove City High School 1996. But between that and the Urge Overkill going on, I was like, literally, I thought I was having flashbacks.
So the only thing missing was hemp necklaces and bracelets?
Yes, the hemp necklaces was the only thing that, well, these are more like the preppy girls, you know, they,
but Guess jean wearing early 90s.
Yeah, but they had the Doc Martens on, their pants were rolled up high above their shoe. The kicker,
the gold cross on the outside of their turtleneck?
No, the kicker for me though was the T-shirt and the long sleeve shirts tucked into the pants, completely tucked in. They weren't doing the front tucked like you see the 30 and 40-year-old chicks doing. They completely tucked in, pants pulled up, had the turtleneck on underneath the sweatshirts, the whole 9 yards.
The high-waisted pants that make them look like they got a belly?
No, because that was more 1980s and then came back. No, this is straight up like 1990s, like literally. You can go through my yearbook and hold it up from our Grove City yearbook from 1996, 1997, and these girls would look like they walked off of page 45. It was the craziest thing fucking ever.
Where's a 9 Inch Nails shirt? We're missing a 9 Inch Nails shirt.
Yeah, right. Completely.
Red Hot Chili Peppers, maybe a little Nirvana.
Yeah.
Pearl Jam.
Bringing back the Backstreet Boys. To tell you what, before we go out,
I was out of high school before that happened.
Yeah, I'm glad we went to school in the 90s, Martin, because I wouldn't want to look back at my prime with wearing styles from the 1980s, even though right now that's the cool thing. Like, oh, Wonder Woman 1984. Look, the 80s weren't cool the first time around. Don't try to convince everybody they were cool the second time around.
I think I had a Sonic Youth shirt on in one of my senior pictures.
Yep. I posted my senior picture last week. Hey, before we go to our break real quick, I want to get this out of the way. This is the TikTok lesson of the week.
And now for the What's in Your Head podcast TikTok lesson of the week.
If you leave whiskey in a barrel for several years, the whiskey will get better. But the same is not true for people.
And this has been the What's in Your Head podcast TikTok lesson of the week.
For those of you streaming live on Facebook, Periscope, Twitch.
I make sure I understood that last line. The same is not true for people.
Yeah, you want me to replay that? Here you go.
If you leave whiskey in a barrel for several years, the whiskey will get better. But the same is not true for people.
So you guys tuning in on the streaming services, you guys hang tight. Martin, thank you so much for hanging out with us and give us an update on New York. I hope you guys stay healthy up there. And you guys, we will be right back momentarily.
Take care, guys.
Later.
Take care.